Hello, I'm Santiago Mari with Leadbetter Swing Aids. I'm going to give you a tip on driving, right? So this is another one of those topics of conversation that you hear a lot in the clubhouse. Am I steep? Am I shallow? I need to really shallow my driver more. I need to hit from the inside out. There's so much information out there. So all we're here is to explain some of these terms and how you can use them to your benefit. So when you're talking about your driver, we always want to feel that as you come into the ball, you're coming in from a shallow perspective, or let's say that your shaft feels like it's coming in a little bit from the inside. That's great, as long as you don't misinterpret that. So what do I mean by that? So Brock, if you don't mind, take a setup. And what Brock's going to show is the typical feel on the driver. Most golfers feel like as they take the club back, they're going to get the club very much on the inside and that they're shallowing the shaft that way. So if you look at it when you do this here, right, you're actually just pulling the club behind you, and even though this is somewhat shallow, this has a negative effect because that club is going to want to jump up to the top and actually come down steep and over the top. So a lot of the slices that you see out there come from this feeling of shallowing the shaft a bit too early when you shallow the shaft on the backswing, right? So the better way to use this, let's say the shaft angles is, you got to make sure that as you start to swing, right, you always need to start the backswing in a neutral perspective, right? So now, see, if you're starting on, let's call it our tour takeaway, you can use your straightaway to make sure that you're parallel. And as you take the club back, right, so now you're in a loaded position. So it's a lot easier to actually shallow a shaft that is on a neutral plane than to shallow one that is already kind of stuck and behind you. So feel that you load the club neutral, and then as you do your transition, right, you're going to see how that shaft is going to have a bit of a shallowing effect, right? So this is the neutral shallowing effect where the shaft goes from the backswing to the downswing, right? So but what is an interesting point, as you can see here, you can identify how the club is, and let's say the hands and the grip, they're not actually getting stuck behind him, right? So if the shaft gets stuck behind Brock, then all he's going to do is have to rush the club forward, and that's going to give him the opposite. That's going to give him a nice hook, right? So this trying to shallow the club is one of those things that gets a lot of people in trouble with their driver because they're doing it the wrong way. So try to do it in a neutral way, which means get the club started neutral, right? So here's your standard, very neutral takeaway. Look at the club, perfect out. If you can double check with your straightaway, parallel to your target line or to your toe line, you set up, and now from here, get that core moving. And from there on, you see how the shaft went from being a little bit on a steep point to a little shallower, and then from there you get into a nice shallow impact. So now, Brock, show us how to hit that ball. So get that tour takeaway, and from there just transition, right? So go back, load, and hit. Oh, that was a nice looking drive. How did that feel?
Felt pretty good.
So the main point that you saw there is that as Brock took the club back, he created some nice space. The shaft moved on a neutral perspective, right? Everything moved straight and down the path. From there, it had that shallowing effect on the transition, and there it got to impact. So it arrived at impact in a neutral way because the club never got stuck behind him, which again, I reiterate, it's very difficult to bring the club back to impact when, as we do our backswing, the club gets so far behind us that then all we have to do is throw it back to the front. So keep that club in front of you. You're going to see that your shaft is going to want to react the right way, and you're going to start hitting a lot better drives. So if you like this video, there's a lot more where this comes from. So make sure you click, like, and subscribe below for a lot more access to our video content.